really being focused on bringing value. I think this is really fundamental, right? Being value driven in everything that you do in an authentic way. Coming from the luxury business for so many years and seeing the transformation of it, I think it's really important and for those businesses, like, to question, how am I really bringing value to the customer? As an individual, how am I really bringing value in the work that I do? If you're not bringing value, then you shouldn't be there.
This is Generation Podcast, conversations around the new generation of global talents and brands. Ciao, I'm your host, Simona Lodolo. Every 2 weeks, together with an international guest, we'll embark on a journey to explore what it means to be a leader in today's ever-connected and constantly evolving world. My guests, managers, entrepreneurs, and standout figures from around the globe, are shaping the future of culture, economics, and society. Their stories, experiences, and visions are here to inspire the next generation, the Gloneration. Joining me today, a pioneer at the crossroad of luxury and digital commerce, Claire Chung, CEO and co-founder of Ignae Skincare. Ciao, Claire.
Ciao, Simona. So nice to see you again.
Thank you so much for accepting my invitation and welcome to Gloneration Podcast.
Thank you.
So, Claire, you are currently CEO of the brand you co-founded, which is Ignae, a luxury skincare brand, but you have a long career as an entrepreneur, as senior executive in publicly listed companies. You launched the very first online luxury retailer in China, led the Yoox Group, and sit currently on the board of directors of many global luxury brands and foundations around the world. My very first question to the very first female guest of Gloneration is what made Mary Claire Chung Mary Claire Chung?
That's a great question, Simona. I think I'm a very fortunate person because I've been able to be influenced and inspired by so many people, so many different cultures, having living in different countries. And that actually starts with where you're born and who's your family, in the sense that, how were you educated? In all these years and moving around, I think that cultural education is so fundamental. My family is originally from Shanghai, but I was born in Taipei. Actually, my grandfather studied at La Scala. He was a conductor, Italian opera singer. So I did opera and classical music every day at home, right? We spoke always several dialects of even Chinese at home. Then my father was educated in the U.S. I then moved to the U.S. I grew up in Houston, of all places. And I went to New York for school and to Hong Kong. And that was my kind of at my early career. So really, I've been fortunate to benefit actually from the incredible historic rise of China, the incredible, let's say, hard work of the people, and incredible story of taking hundreds of millions of people into the middle class and bringing prosperity to everyone. Then I went to Europe. I became an entrepreneur. Then go back to China. Launched China's first luxury online retailer. It's been an incredible journey, but along the way, I've been influenced and learned from so many amazing people, absorbing the best of many cultures. So that kind of American entrepreneurism, I would say that openness, that entrepreneurial spirit, that actually the American dream is in Italy, of course, the Italian, let's say, the eye, the Italian eye, the beauty of Italy, right?
So many turning points linked to different cultures, different countries. I'm very curious, when we discussed previously, you said that you got some Italian touch with the luxury, the eyes, and so on. Did this help when you were embracing the very ambitious project of joining the co-founder of Champagne and raising $150 million?
Absolutely. That was fundamental for two reasons. I mean, I actually majored in art history at university, and my thesis was on Italian Renaissance art. So I used to spend all my time going through museums in Italy. And my first career was in the art business at Christie's. So I think this trains the visual eye. I think this is fundamental, and this is the beauty. This is really, really critical. Those years at the auction houses, when you're surrounded by the most beautiful things in the world and you get to see the best across all different categories, you train the eye. I then launched my own jewelry brand that I showed at Fashion Week in Paris, and I was also at Basel World. I was the designer. It was a small business. I was a one-woman show. I'll never forget, I was showing at Place Vendôme at the trade fair. I was the only one at the booth, and the Japanese buyers came through, and they looked at my collection. They said, I can see the Italian design. This is an Italian brand. I was like, that's right, it's from Milan, but because it was my influence of my eye, having been raised with so much influence of Italian, let's say, visual culture in my life. And also with champagne, I think Italy is a country based on relationships similar to China. And because I had been living there for 10 years, I knew many of the designers. My anchor brand from Champagne were all Italian brands, right? So we were able to sign a few of them on as proof of concept. That helped raise the initial $50 million from Chung Capital. I think that was the fastest closure. We closed that in 4 months. We closed 50 million US dollars. And with that, we then started pitching brands. And my first anchor big brand was Grupo Valentino. So we took Red Valentino as one of our ready-to-wear brands.
Wow. But apart from the Italian eyes and style, where did you get this entrepreneurship that you used in this adventure of Champagne, but across the entire career you had? Because I don't see Italians so strong in entrepreneurship.
I think this is the one big lesson I've learned after living in so many different countries and speaking 5 languages. You are the product of the people around you and what you create. Italians are entrepreneurial. I think what's lacking in Italy and many European countries is the legal and financial structures to support entrepreneurs. This is what there is in the United States, and this is why I love America. Ironically, of all the countries in the world, I lived in the UK, Europe, Hong Kong, Shanghai, London, Milan. These places, entrepreneurs rise when you also have the legal and financial structures to support that. I mean, most importantly, you need the financial structure, you need the fundraising. And so the U.S. is still, one of the best markets in the world. It has a great investment community. It is the country still of meritocracy. And in China, when I was there, those were the good old days. And there was this fearlessness in the Chinese entrepreneurs that I only saw with Americans. I mean, there is so much in common between Chinese people and American people. Let's talk about the people. Let's talk about our shared humanness. Everyone in the world, no matter what country you're in, wants to do something interesting. They want to make a better life for themselves. And if they believe that the effort they put in will create something, they will definitely put that in. You can have a great idea. You can come from nothing and become something. The CEO of the founder of Champagne was coming from Shandong, and he came from very humble beginnings, but he was able to, they're all tech guys, but we were able to launch China's first luxury online retailer. So I think this is something to be applauded in the sense that the conditions and environment support innovation, support entrepreneurship, supports idea generation. I think this is really critical, not only for the economy, but as human beings, we want to have happy lives. We want to be able to realize our dreams. I'm still an ever optimist because I grew up in America.
I think this optimism that you have helped throughout your entire career. But is there something that you wish you knew? And you could tell to your 25 self?
It's always hard to go say in retrospect. Ironically, I never expected to even leave the US. I wasn't planning to move overseas. I thought I would just kind of stay in New York for the rest of my life. Once a New Yorker, always a New Yorker. But that's just what happened because of where the world was moving, the economy was moving, where opportunities were, and things were happening. Life is a journey. And you can't look back and say, oh, what if I had done that? If you spend all your time thinking about that, you need to learn from mistakes. Absolutely. Right. And one of the things that I probably should have recognized more was the limitations of culture. You cannot change people. it's really difficult to change. This is for more as executives when you're leading teams. That cultural conversation is really important. We just automatically assume that everyone works in a certain way, and that's not true. Certain cultures, like in the US, everything's much more transparent. People are very direct. So that's why it's easy to get things done. In China, or maybe in other countries, it's cloaked in a different way. So the kind of this cultural understanding and how you communicate and operate within those teams is something that's very important to recognize. This is important from startups to large companies. I've worked with two British companies, Christie's and Net-a-Porter. Love both companies. Italian culture. I've worked for Yux, and I think
Yes.
because I lived in Italy, I had a great time with them as well.
Half Italian. Italian.
So I've been able to really have great relationship with the teams I've worked with because I've had to move to different different countries. One of the things I always try to do first is understand the other. Maybe this is because when I moved to the U.S., I was 5 years old and I didn't speak a word of English, and they didn't know what to do with me. There was no foreigners in my school, and people were very, very nice. What did I do? Well, I basically memorized the dictionary a page a day, like all good Chinese students do, and just observe. So I was from very young age, just let's observe the others. Let's learn. I'm going to learn and observe the other.
Yeah, I think what you said, the listening is very crucial, but sometimes very difficult.
Yes.
Very, very difficult. Can you make an example of communications that was crucial within clients or teammate, your team members?
Well, it's interesting because I'm very adaptable. What I notice is, for example, it's also the corporate culture, right?
Yes.
So Net-a-Porter, because it was founded by the amazing Natalie Massenet. When I joined, I was actually her last hire. I was hired at a group level to launch the China business, first starting with Net-a-Porter, and then the merger happened. But because of that, she was a woman. This is fundamental. She wanted to listen to other opinions. And so it was a women kind of led driven culture of bottom up, right? So I would maybe have a great idea and they would approve it, but they would say, okay, but you have to get everyone else to agree. So bottom up decision making process. China and Italy is top down.
Yes.
The decision is made, you just got to do it. Execute. Don't ask them. Even if you don't believe in it or if you don't, they don't want to hear. So it's a very, would you say this is Italian or Chinese, or would you say this is extremely male dominated? I don't know, but it's really top down. This is what's been decided, just execute it. I don't want to name nations or name gender, but these are just corporate cultures. Especially when I was with the Chinese company, right? I would try to bring more Western kind of approach to managing my teams. And I would say certain members appreciated it, but other people, they actually just told me, Claire, I'm just here to do my job. Just tell me what to do. They just want to be told what to do and just go home. They don't want to think. And other people want to say, yeah, I actually have the opinion and I want to. So it's very, very interesting, right? For example, I hired someone to be head of PR. And when we ran the check on her previous boss said, oh, I didn't like her. Well, she was good, but her negative trait was she's too opinionated. But for me, that's why I wanted to hire her.
Of course.
She had an opinion. I want to listen to your opinion.
She's the expert, so she must have an opinion.
Exactly. So see, this is where you see this is a really good example where that's something that was a characteristic that I wanted. It was not traditionally valued within a Chinese ecosystem, but I did because A, I'm Western trained, and B, I'm a woman. So I want to listen to my teams. I want to empower others to be other leaders, especially women. I want them to have a voice. And this is because also I went to Barnard College, which is part of Columbia University. It's a women's college. And it's something that I'm very passionate about because there is still not enough women in positions of power. We have to make our voice heard. And the more the cultures that do not support that, then those young women that are along their careers and then don't step up, right?
Yeah, you are so powerful. let's talk about these mentorship programs that you follow, no? Especially for women.
Well, I try to mentor always the teams that I work with, but also I always like to keep kind of involved in the startup world because that's a great way of keeping up to date on innovation, especially with technology and AI moving at really rapid speed. And I saw that already in China, by the way, because the Chinese were advanced ahead of everyone else
Very much.
10 years ago because we had partnership with credit card companies, and I was going to Chinese banks in Beijing for meetings, and already everyone was scanning in with Face ID or buying things at the employee canteen without any payments, just face scan. And so I already started thinking about this 8 years ago. AI is going to disrupt the world. It's going to impact service jobs. So who's going to be impacted? Women who hold a lot of the service jobs. Well, that's a whole different other topic. But how I like to mentor is I'm on Imperial College's Enterprise Lab, and I specifically asked to then mentor female-led startups. And having had to, well, with Champagne, I helped. I helped raise, but this funding. But we were a team. But I was then speaking about the fashion part of the business, and I've been left alone with the VC 3-4 hours being grilled, right? And when I raised capital with my current business, being a woman having to raise capital, that's also a different type of scenario. I remember like one person asking me, "Do I give my money back?" I mean, do you think you would ask that if I was a man? I don't think so. It's pretty clear that there is not equality in many levels, not only corporate, but especially entrepreneurship. And I think that has to do a lot with a woman's relationship with money. That's also a very strong cultural aspect. And I feel that very much in Italy, where women don't really, it's considered not good taste to talk about money. This is not, this is business, and my approach is capital is a tool to create, right?
Wow,
This is
very
how I
nice
see
point
it.
of view.
It's capital. How are you going to deploy it, right? I don't have an emotional attachment to it. I see it as something very practical. How are you going to use that to generate and create even more? Within Europe, I see this, right? Coco Chanel in her time couldn't even open up a bank account as a woman, female entrepreneur. But going back to that mentorship, we do what we can. For me, it's just my little bit. I'm not changing the world, but I'm just doing my little bit. We all, you, Simona, by doing this podcast, inviting people from all over the world, maybe one of your listeners will hear some insights to spark an idea or give them some advice or inspire them for something. So we all try to do in our day-to-day something little to be meaningful, and I think that's great. So with technology, with podcasts, with content being global, positive content, informative content, educational content, and meaningful content that's going to add value to be disseminated out there in the world. And again, I was very lucky to be educated in a certain way. I also went to a great school, high school, where we were educated to give back to people. So you see that with a strong sense of philanthropy, that people give back. And I think this is something that I've learned. This comes from being raised in America. The sense of, I've been fortunate enough in life. Let me give back when I can. If I have some time, I'll do some mentorships. It's just tiny little steps, but every individual's tiny little steps can make impact.
Wow, you certainly do. And I don't know how you find all the time, because I want to talk about the two roles that you are now involved in. One is for sure the story. I just have questions about Ignae because it's a very new brand. It's just 7 years, which is a very short amount of time. It's already in 20 different countries. So it's already a global brand. So I was wondering, what is the secret to make global brands and build it up in such a short amount of time? And plus, I would consider the pandemic in the between.
Yes. Well, the Ignae story is a wonderful story. So I was still in Shanghai at that time. with Net-a-Porter and was planning to leave China after we finished a joint venture with Alibaba. And I was looking, having taken hundreds of brands into China, looking to get involved and invest in a brand myself, right? And so I kind of sent out the word to some friends, and one friend said, "Oh, there's this a startup skincare brand from the Azores called Ignae." So Ignae was founded by a Zorian called Miguel Pombo, and it was originally launched in 2017. Miguel was working in the EU as an intern first and working in regulatory and seeing that there was a lot of ingredients from the Azores Islands that were really great for cosmetics and testing well. So he founded Azores Life Science, which is to do R&D. And Ignae was originally launched in 2017 by a 100K government grant from the European Union. So 4 products were launched, and it was starting selling a bit in Portugal, and also I think Joanna Czech was the first fan of the brand. So very influential celebrity facialist in New York. So he had sent me the original range when I was still in Shanghai. And, after living in Shanghai for many years with the pollution, with the stress, my usual amazing products, which were super expensive luxury brands that we all know, wasn't cutting it. And I was aging rapidly, let's put it that way. So I stopped using all my products and I just started using May, and I was stunned after 30 days to see really visible change. So I flew to Azores to meet Miguel, all the R&D team with the professors, and then the pandemic hit. I decided to join the business, and we raised initial capital during the pandemic. It's really crazy. Also 4 months, and that was my lucky number. We did that with champagne, of course, with
Oh
Ignae. It was
my
the start.
God.
It was a pandemic, not as many zeros, but we raised
You have it done. That's what surprised me. You do it. You make it happen so
yes.
quickly.
Yes. Well, when you, this is a thing that I tell everyone. Anyone, including yourself, Simona, that's lived in China knows anyone who's run a business in China in the days that we were there, it was the world's most dynamic market. And yes, we were helped by the booming times, but it's also the world's most competitive market, the world's biggest rat race. You do well today doesn't mean you do well tomorrow. So you've got to always move, always trying to think about the next step. And, if you do well, then someone's going to raise $100 million to copy you, right? This is China at that time. And so, in a nutshell, we raised capital in 4 months, and that enabled us to make our first biotech breakthrough. So we were able to create our first proprietary ingredient, which is a nanosome technology. We reformulated to clean beauty and plant-based only, always with the key botanicals that we're able to encapsulate it to 400 nanometers using our innovation. So the capital enabled us to kind of benefit from the R&D that was done for many years. We launched in November of 2021 the new range. And focus on the U.S. market, and then of course globally, focusing on wholesale as our key channel for now, and also of course digital and spa channels. We're in luxury spas like the Four Seasons in Hong Kong. We just launched in Atlantis, Dubai. We're launching now, very pleased, our first U.S. property at the Salamander Hotel in D.C., which is founded by Sheila Johnson, an amazing female entrepreneur who was America's first Black billionaire. She did it before Oprah. Super inspirational woman. I think it's the product. The product does the talking. I've just been lucky. I've been all around the world, so the product does the talking. We're able to get into all these stores because the product. Of course, it helps that I'm coming from Net-a-Porter when I talk to retailers, because it's serious. Right. No one, someone with a serious career is not going to back a brand that doesn't work. right? It's not a gimmick like so many of the skincare brands out there. It's not about celebrity endorsements. In fact, we're working with, celebrity makeup artists that all love what we do. For example, over the summer, I met Harry Styles. We work with his makeup artist that loves Ignae. So it's really about this authenticity. That's so rare. And again, me personally, I try the products like, what is this? We've discovered the fountain of youth, and it's in this amazing R&D and products that was founded by Miguel. It's like, this company in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And we've been able to take it to the world now. So I'm a champion for the underdog because these are the authentic stories that I love.
You are really a fighter. Your courage is absolutely inspiring. But I need to ask you this. Have you ever felt like any fear that blocked you? Because it seems that you don't care. You just go.
I was hanging out with my Chinese founders for many years. These guys are the fearless guys. I really learned from them. Even when you fail, there's a lesson to learn. You just move on. Life is too short. That's what I feel. And I'm a person of faith. I think that's very important. So I just keep on going.
I'm totally opposite. Sometimes I have so many questions. I think the culture here is accepting failure much more than in Italy, for example. Still now, every time I have to do maybe a step a little bit longer than I'm used to, I feel like maybe this can happen, this can happen, this can happen. Luckily, I feel that US is different. It's like try, and then what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen.
Yes, it's a bit of the cultural mindset that has a big impact, and that's why certain countries thrive in certain things and others do not. Again, there's talent all over the world. You look at Ignae. Ignae is coming from Azores Islands in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and what an amazing product and what amazing talent of the founder to do this. And so I'm supporting that because I want to support talent. Talent is everywhere, but how do you then find the support if you're talking about businesses, access the capital, access the knowledge, the know-how, the support, the mentorship, all the tools you need to take it to the next level, right? If you're living in a country that lacks maybe the support of that. So these are, deeper questions that each government has to look into, because I really think that with AI dominating the future and the future work, entrepreneurship and starting your own business is a way of looking at the future of work and thinking about your passions in life and trying to think about how to then monetize that and create something with that.
Yeah, I think the good part is that you're not obliged maybe like 50 years ago. I'm Italian, I do business in Italy, I need to raise money in Italy, I need to do everything in here. No, everything is global. So my next question to you, for example, what are the three capabilities, skills that a new generation of global talents must have?
I think one is that agility. The world is changing at a much faster pace. And that agility to be flexible, to pivot careers. You need to pivot careers to reinvent yourself multiple times. Right. Number two, never stop learning. Because the world is quickly changing all the time, you should never stop learning. So whether that is doing more executive courses or other courses, never stop learning. Number three is being value-driven in everything that you do in an authentic way. Coming from the luxury business for so many years and seeing the transformation of it, right? I think it's really important and for those businesses, like to question, how am I really bringing value to the customer? As an individual, how am I really bringing value in the work that I do? If you're not bringing value, then you shouldn't be there.
You're right. And honestly, social media sometimes are teaching the opposite. Something the fastest way, not the deepest way, and to bring value. Let's suppose there is a generation masterclass. What subject would you teach?
For someone that's on a career path, how to brand yourself. I have a daughter that's at university, and she did her first summer job and everything. So now all the young kids looking for jobs now, they're being screened by AI on the resumes. They have to do video interviews and given 30 seconds to prepare themselves. This is in traditionally what someone in my role would be given PR training at executive level, which I've had to do that. So these are college kids that's never had that experience. Now that it's so competitive, that you really have to have understanding of who you are, what value do you bring to each situation, each company, be able to communicate that. So communication skills are much more important now. Even if you want a technical role, I would teach a class on how to brand yourself in the workplace.
Great. And of course, with the global touch further. Now, the Gloneration game, I will mention some areas or life skills, and you need to answer me whether you feel global or local in each one of them. For example, food, global or local?
Local, definitely.
Study, education,
Global.
sport,
Global.
creativity,
It's global.
family,
Global.
art and culture,
Global.
beauty or appearance,
Global.
design,
Global.
wow, music,
Global. Global.
holidays or destinations,
That's more local now.
local wear,
Within Europe. Within Europe.
time management,
Global.
problem solving,
Global.
empathy.
That's a hard question. I would say global because empathy comes from many different sources. So it's very it's very difficult. I would just say I would say global because I'm empathetic to many peoples and cultures.
Emotional intelligence,
Global.
leadership style,
Global.
strategic thinking.
Global.
Last one, team management.
Global.
What's next for you, Claire?
Well, I am currently on 2 boards, which I really enjoy serving. And I would love to get more involved with other boards and organizations because I do feel that the world is going through a lot of change. And it's not because I'm a China expert, it's because I've had to survive and thrive in China. Those skill sets of being very, very agile and always thinking out of the box and pivoting and rapid response, let's say, those are skills now needed at the global level. I think that could be very, very interesting to be more involved with boards. I love going to Denmark and Copenhagen with the current board at Bangalusen and at Delsey. I'm really enjoying working with that under the leadership of our chairwoman, which is fantastic. So I also love to work with a female chairwoman. Isabel Paris is amazing. I hope to continue my global, let's say, experience at the board level and joining more boards.
I add one question linked to this. What do you think will be the future hot industry, hot area, market?
Yes, I think wellness is very, very big. And it's also maybe that demographic of customers. When I was at Net-a-Porter, the VIP customer was 40-some years old. And that kind of demographic of that customer, what is she looking at now? Well, myself personally, I'm less about buying high heel shoes and more about looking at my wellness. I'm spending money in longevity. I'm spending money on preventive care, on retreats for wellness. I'm a big believer in the she economy globally. So those product services that is going to tap in that economy for the woman that is 50, 60, 70 years old. Let's not forget about her. She's got money. Because then the younger generation, rising generation, they care about different things. It's much more of a on demand. I see it here, in the US. I'm doing this podcast from Houston, which is a city that everyone has a car. Well, I'm speaking to my friends and some people, they don't even want cars anymore. They just do Uber. So the new generation, they're spending their money in a different way. So this new generation, they want to go thrifting as a verb. They want old Chanel from a thrift store. They don't want new Chanel. Sustainability is really important for them. So what's that going to impact the industry? Well, I think there's two buckets. What is the younger consumer doing? And then what is this older consumer doing?
Interesting. So it's double the opportunities. Thank you so much, Claire, for your time, your insights, your stories.
Chat. No, it's been a pleasure. It's so nice to see you. And I'm so glad that you're doing this podcast. I do think that, the more shared learnings that there is out there, the more that we can all bring value in an ever-shifting world.
Okay, guys, this is it for today. Thanks for listening to this episode of Generation. Today, we had so many insights from Claire. I hope you had a great time. I did. If so, please follow us and share the episode with your friends. Our community is growing. For more curiosities and insights about Claire and our guests, check our website, grownation.com. Make sure you are here in 2 weeks for another great episode of Grownation. Ciao!